Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to another First Impressions video. Of course, the last time I did something like this was for the first episode of Kyuranger, and so I decided to do another one again on the latest entry for one of my favorite tokusatsu productions, or favorite tokusatsu franchises, Ultraman. And just like the first impressions of Uchu Sentai Kyuranger, I brought back the one and only Enshohma.
You lucky people, you. Oh, hold on. Let me get my script here. Okay.
All right,
Are we
wait, hold on,
doing
hold on. Let me just get mine.
Okay.
Fuck. Yeah.
Galaxy. Well,
Shut
actually,
up,
yeah.
you fat nerd. Nobody likes you. And let's see. I'm supposed to have a prop here somewhere.
Right.
Screw the
Make
whole thing. Okay, let's just go off script. Fuck it. We'll
Yeah,
do it
okay, fine.
live.
We'll do it live.
Oh, the times have changed since then.
Indeed. Oh,
Anyways, stupid Fox News references aside, so we're going to be talking about the first episode, or rather the first four episodes, actually, because the series was actually good.
yeah.
We're going to talk about the first couple episodes of the newest Ultraman series, Ultraman Geed, which is the latest in a long line of recent Japanese series that have been under the guidance of... Oh, what was the name of that individual? I know I saw him at G-Fest. Now I feel really bad.
Yeah, and he's not even listed here on the on the old blasted Ultraman wiki.
Right,
Thanks
but
for nothing, Ultra Wiki.
but there's been a series of Ultraman. Oh, and actually, the special effects director, he started out working with doing independent work, some of which I actually covered way back when in 2012 when I first started the channel. He was the guy behind Daikaiju Eiga G and Gahara, the dark and long-haired monster. And so it's really, really nice to see him going from student films to now doing something big and official like Ultraman. And he, of course, started working on Ultraman X, which has started kind of been... Ultraman X seemed to have been kind of like the first real Ultraman series, because before Ultraman X was Ultraman Ginga and Ginga S, which I have never seen Ginga nor Ginga S, but from what I understand, it was the shows that those guys came from. It was kind of like a half compilation show, half real Ultraman show in Choma.
Ultraman Ginga S, you're talking about?
Yeah, Ginga and Ginga S. It wasn't like a full series, right? It was kind of like a half and half.
No, they were full series. They just did kind of the Gundam thing where they had the first season and the second season later combined into a singular series.
Really, because I could have sworn that it was sort of like not a real series. It was kind of like one episode would be a real Geed episode, and then the next episode would be like a compilation or like a best of.
I'm not sure about the compilation part, but if anything, most of the episodes were original. But to be fair, Ginga and Ginga S were done on very low budgets. We're talking about like almost every episode was like Godzilla vs. Megalon. They always fought in the woods. So, and I think they couldn't even afford blue paint for the sky mat. So a lot of the times it was like gray backgrounds. So, but no, I've not seen a single episode of Ginga or Ginga S. But several of my friends who actually did check out the series in full says that it was a rough start for a series, very low budget, very not very well done.
Right, because leading up to the events of Ultraman Geed, the last Ultraman series from the 2000s, I believe, was Ultraman Mebius, and then after Ultraman Mebius was the video-on-demand released series Ultra Galaxy and Ultra Galaxy Neo. Then there came a series of movies like Ultra Galaxy Legend, Ultraman Zero the movie, a couple like direct-to-video specials here and there, and then the Ultraman Saga movie. And then so finally, after a good... I want to say 6 or so years after Mebius, we finally got Ginga S, and I guess it was X that had... Oh, now I have his name. Kiyotaka Taguchi. That was the guy behind Daikaiju Eiga G and Gahara, and a couple other short films.
Yeah.
So he
and it's
came
great
on
that
board.
he's become sort of the living custodian for the Ultraman franchise.
You could say like he is the modern day. He is the Eiji Tsuburaya of the modern day, just to give some context as to his importance to the production of Ultraman. He is the guy behind who directs a lot of the action, the model work, the suit work, as far as I know. So with after his direction, his take, he started with Ultraman X, which I actually saw in full. I've yet to see the Ultraman X movie though, but from what I've seen of the whole series, all 25 episodes, I absolutely love the series. And I've noticed that this was like the first show, or maybe Jeed and no, sorry, Ginga and Ginga S also went the short route at 25 episodes. So ever since like the 2010 started, every Ultraman show has been around 25 episodes instead of the general 40-50 episodes, which is very interesting. And we'll try to compare that later on when we try to compare this with the current trends with Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. But
Mm-hmm.
after Ultraman X came Ultraman Orb. Now you've seen Ultraman Orb, but I haven't, unfortunately. I'm still getting attempting to get caught up with Ultraman X, and I was not ready to depart with my DRX.
Yeah. As we were discussing before we record, I don't remember all the specifics or details behind
Hmm.
Ultraman Orb, but as a whole, I really did enjoy the series.
Neither the Pacifics nor the Atlantics in Shoma.
You- God damn it! Already, this podcast has become a garbage fire. Just end it now.
Ambiguity.
Moral ambiguity. I
You got the
said it
word
right.
right now.
Yeah,
That's a dead meme.
yeah. But I don't think it was ever a meme to begin with. That's how unpopular I am.
I made it a
So
meme
yeah,
only because I care.
right.
So,
Anyways, but no, no.
how was Orb?
Orb had a much stronger story from
Mm-hmm.
what I compared to Ginga, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
The main hero and his main rival, not exactly the main villain, were
Uh-huh.
very interesting characters. And unlike most Ultraman shows, he was actually an alien disguised as a human. So
Uh-huh.
he was a real character as opposed to a timeshare type ordeal that the original Ultraman and my personal favorite Ultraman Towards the Future were all about.
Mhm. That is also a
Um,
trend I've noticed with the Kiyotaka Taguchi era of Ultraman, where the Ultramen now speak a lot to their hosts and come off as actual characters.
that was a big plot point of Ultraman.
X.
Well, Ultraman X, yeah. Like the Ultraman himself, I forgot if he was artificial or natural Ultraman, but he still talked to the human he hosted
Yeah.
as sort of like a mentor-child relationship. In fact, it's almost, I would make the comparison to what's the name of that DC character who are like two men combined into a singular being, and they
Oh,
have
I remember him. Yeah, yeah, like Fire
yeah.
something. I don't want to say Starfire, but Fire Star? I don't know.
No, I think you're right. It is Firestar, but
No, no,
that
no.
the
Yeah, because Starfire, that's the Teen Titans character.
right. Oh, right, right. Okay. Yeah, some man, whatever. DC characters are weird. Back to the Japanese superheroes.
Back to the giant man in rubber.
Yeah. Oh, the way you say it just comes off wrong now. So,
Yeah. Oh, not even Firestar. That's the character from Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
oh, but again, let's get back to the more simplistic world of Japanese superheroes.
Right.
So,
The type of
he
world
knowingly
where that
says,
requires men needing to collect energy from a god and convert it into capsules in order to power up.
hmm "Oh, the character we're thinking is Firestorm."
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, go continue.
What was I talking about before
The
DC Comics ruined?
the trend of current Ultramen, the quality in terms of quality.
Oh, well, the good news is that unlike Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, Ultraman has been able to focus on characterization and actual story and pathos than just an excuse to sell toys. The bad news is the new Ultraman shows are still excuses to sell toys.
Right,
Hence,
and probably that's the reason. Yeah, that's the reason why we have the Spark dolls from Ginga, Ginga S, and X, and
mhm.
you have the orbs, I believe, from Orb, and now we have the Ultra capsules for Jeed, which looks a
Yeah,
lot like the capsules or like those weird little, I think they're called soda capsules for soda bottles for the upcoming Ultraman series, Ultraman. Oh, sorry, the upcoming Kamen Rider series, Kamen Rider Build, and even the previous Kamen Rider series, they had what do you call them? I think gashats that they use to transform into different Kamen Rider video game Kamen Riders. And then the newest Sentai series, they had those little orbs that they would place on their morphers, for lack of a better term, and those orbs would be a key part of the Megazord combinations.
Meanwhile, somebody completely new to Japanese superheroes is just listening to this podcast, and it's like, "Yep, I'm out."
Yeah. It's basically,
Oh,
it's like it's nothing but toy collecting. Although I would say maybe this potentially may have all started around Kamen Rider Ryuki, because I think Kamen Rider Ryuki had the first gimmick, like collectible gimmick, as I like to call it, where he had a card, so you collect cards and he can use those cards to unlock new weapons and powers.
yeah. Well, that's a good suggestion, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it really got bad, or it went into full tilt when we got to Kamen Rider Forze. The space guy who's constantly making friends with everybody, the
Yeah.
astronaut.
Uh-huh.
That introduced the whole concept of attachable body parts, countless
Uh-huh.
different forms,
Mm-hmm.
and it
I
infected
would say that
Ultraman
I would say that
immensely
Ultraman
because
I would say that Ultraman O's had a lot of forms to where it didn't
oh
even look like, even didn't even resemble his original form.
yeah, but I believe O's came after Forze.
I would say it was the opposite. I
Okay,
remember because like Forze was the first new Ultraman that was around when I
we're to
started.
Kamen Rider.
We're talking about. Sorry, I keep going back to Ultraman. Maybe because I'm subconsciously want to go back to talking about Ultraman because it's more fun, and that's the subject of this review.
How about we do this? How about we just don't mention Kamen Rider ever again? Go back to
Very good.
Ultraman.
Although we're
Yes.
probably going to have to do, knowing that now that we've done a first impressions for a Sentai show and for an Ultraman show, we're probably going to have to do a first. I feel obligated to do a first impressions video when Build comes out.
No. Okay. Let me contact somebody to help me fake my death when that time comes. All right.
I already saw the like the
Here's
preview.
here's my script. Oh, a heart attack. Oh, this. Oh no, I can't do Ultraman. Kamen Rider Ultraman. I'm sorry, Andres. Thump dead.
If you haven't picked up on now, ladies and gentlemen, we are not fans of the more toyetic approach to tokusatsu. We like the monsters, we like the heroes, we like them fighting each other, we like the fun characters. But in terms of the toy commercial aspects, we are not fans. However, I did like that at least with Ultraman X, and from what I've seen so far with Ultraman Geed, they at least tried to incorporate the collectible gimmick into the plot, and it kind of feels, I would dare say, natural. Feel like a natural part of this universe, or of their respective universes, because this is an ultra multiverse. Don't ask people.
Yeah. On one hand, it is annoying that we're no longer getting just straight Ultraman. There always have to be like combination, like hybrids, like take two separate Ultraman and combine them to a single
Right,
Ultraman type
because
thing.
with the original, it's almost like they're playing on nostalgia
Uh
and
huh.
toy collecting, or like toy
Yeah.
collecting from a nostalgic purpose, because with each new Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, their collectibles is brand new and only exists in the context of their own shows. With the Ultraman stuff, back in the day with Ginga and Ginga S, they had Spark Doll, or Ginga, Ginga S, and X. They all had Spark Dolls based on older monsters and heroes. With Orb, he's making fusions of based on the powers of older Ultramen.
Hmm.
And with Jeed, he's again making new forms based on the powers of more popular Ultramen.
Yeah. Now this whole combination fusion gimmick might seem really cool to little kids, buying these toys.
Yeah.
But as you can see with even Andres, the
Hmm.
supposed brain of the operation, trying to explain it, it's just a complicated mess. Thankfully, though, as Andres also mentioned, the Ultraman shows have not skimped out on character and storylines and actual adventure just to focus on toys and hyperactivity completely, which is one of the problems we had with Kyuranger.
Hmm. Right, where when we saw the first episode of Kyuranger, it was just like moment after moment of, okay, we got to introduce all five of the Rangers. Okay, that's good. Now we got to introduce their morphers. All right, now we got to introduce their costumes. Now we got to introduce their Zords. Now we got to introduce the Megazord. Go, 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 go.
Yeah, and a story that would have had better pacing if it was spread over 3 or 4 episodes was crammed into a single episode.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, we just watched the first 4 episodes of Ultraman Geed, which
Because
feels
we
like a mini story arc, and it just
right
works out way better.
because we were that invested in the storyline that we want to continue watching all. At first, we just wanted to watch the first 2 episodes, but then
Uh
at
huh.
that point, we were like, screw it, let's just check out all of them.
Yeah, and again, I think I'm definitely hooked because, as I was telling you, I tried watching another episode of Kyuranger,
Uh-huh.
and I just couldn't do it. It was not as bad as the first episode, but it
Mm-hmm.
was still pretty mind numbing.
And I just look at the art direction for Ultraman, oh, sorry, for Kamen Rider Xaid, and I don't care how good of a story it is, those designs, to me personally, look absolutely hideous. Like you see like Xaid's normal form where
Uh
he
huh.
looks covered in like pink and neon pink and green plastic. You see his like gamer level 99 score. He looks like a giant megazord with a tiny head.
Hmm.
And then you see his like Muteki gamer form and he just looks like he's covered in gold and long braid dreadlocks. It's like, ew, no. God
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
And then
That's another thing.
you
The
look at
art
like,
direction.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. The art direction on Ultraman is way better than on Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. And unfortunately, as much as I enjoy the robots and monsters of Super Sentai, it's
Mm-hmm.
that whole toyetic thing is really betraying
Yeah.
and not working in its favor.
At least when it comes to Ultraman, at the end of the day, he's meant to be a slim, simplistic guy in a tight rubber suit, and they would add on to provide add-ons like they with Ultraman X, they provide a lot of armor, but it makes sense because he was more of a cybernetic themed Ultraman.
Hmm.
So, but with Ultraman Geed, for I guess to finally get into the story, we have let's see, Riku Asakura. Asakura, he seems to be your average 20-something-year-old boy who happens to befriend an alien previously in secret while working at a convenience store. However, in this universe, which is, again, yet another universe, it is being attacked by the very first monster in history, which is, I believe, Skull Gomora. And Skull Gomora is a combination of Gomora and Red King. And so, as this is all happening, he discovers a secret tunnel underground, and he realizes that he is not an actual human, but rather he is the son of Ultraman Belial, an evil Ultraman who attempted to destroy his universe prior to the start of this show. Shown in a very confusing flashback in the first episode that's meant to lay the groundwork for the rest of the series. So this guy Riku, he finds a device that allows him to take on the powers of two particular Ultramen, and he uses those two powers to transform into his what we I guess we can call his basic form, Ultraman, which he calls Ultraman Geed. I'm not sure where Geed comes from. I can only assume it's like a combination of two particular words that he took the katakanas from, mash them together, and make a new word. Because when it comes to katakana, anything goes. It's all bullshit. You can take a real word like Mobius and bastardize it into Mebius, or you can just take like any random phrases and mash them together to make a new phrase.
Yeah, let's not dwell on Japanese naming systems too long. I love Japanese science fiction and monsters, but
Mm-hmm.
their name choices are bewil- bel bewildering, as
Mm-hmm.
best I can describe them. And we've already, I think, alienated half the audience with toy this and toy that.
Right. I
So,
guess we gotta set them present because I know there's a lot of fans out there who are diehard Kamen Rider and Sentai fans, and
uh-huh.
they actually do go out of their way to collect the toys and watch the series to completion, and they
Yeah.
love each show. I mean, I'm part of like a Kamen Rider group on Facebook that also talks about other tokusatsu stuff, and they talk about the latest episode of the Kamen Rider Xaid every week. And to me, it's like, how can you enjoy this garbage? And then it's like, you know what? That's your thing. I'm not in. I'm not. It's not mine. But more power to you. Just for us, we tend to have that more old school. We prefer to have the more old school approach to just focusing on the story, characters, and monsters, and less about check out this new power up. So, anyways, uh, So Riku, he finds this power. He finds the power. He fights off Skull Gomera, and later he learns that his universe was once destroyed by Ultraman Belial, and that the Ultra King, or the Ultraman King, or I'll just call him the Ultra King for short. He is the king of the original Showa universe where the original Ultraman live, which is Ultraman, Ultra 7, Ultraman A's, Zafi, Leo, Taro, all those guys. And so the Ultra King, he tried to remake this universe, and as a result, he ends up combining with this universe. So pieces of him reside in the form of random humans and aliens. So each episode, Ultraman Jeed comes across one of these people, and he tries to collect the power from these individuals who choose to willingly give them to their hero, Ultraman Jeed. Meanwhile, Belial is still around, for whatever reason, is stuck in human form, and like Ultraman Jeed, he is also collecting capsules of villains from different Ultraman shows, and so he uses these capsules either to summon monsters and villains to fight Ultraman Jeed, or he can take two monster capsules himself and use them to transform not into Ultraman Belial, but to transform into a fusion of those two monsters, similar to how Riku can take two Ultraman powers and fuse them to become an Ultraman, which I think is a very novel idea, quite an interesting approach, because I noticed that with this whole series in general, it takes a lot of new ideas and concepts and just goes to town with them.
Yeah, like for example, Ultraman Geed, or our lead hero, who
Hmm.
by the way isn't 20 something. He's still a young kid. In fact, the actor himself is barely 17.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
It's hard
yeah.
to tell with these Asian actors. They never age.
I remember you told me once you saw like an old lady and mistaked her for a little girl. So it's like that's why she was so terrified on the monkey bars.
Oh, by the way, according to the Ultraman wiki, as credible as whether or not it's credible or not, it's anyone's guess.
It's
He's
our only
supposedly
source, so we can't complain.
right. He's supposedly 19.
Oh wow, he looks a lot. Yeah, you're right. He looks a lot younger for his age.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn the Japanese and how beautiful they age. So,
Of course,
anyways,
their
yeah,
food is much healthier. You probably
yeah,
never even
one.
heard of a McRib before. I stole that joke, just for anyone wondering.
Yeah. Well, if that whole blue tip tuna farm program works out, they're going to be as fat as we are. So,
Excellent.
because yes. Anyways, Riku. Yeah. First off, he's a very likable kid. I don't
Oh
know if
yeah,
it's just
he
because.
is far from what's his face from Kyuranger.
Yeah. Yeah. No. He is a much
This
better.
is not Mr. Yosharake.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's a much more down to earth hero. He's a relatively good kid. In fact, he's very reminiscent of like Clark Kent and the Billy Baxton from Shazam. Like he's a decent person who just happens to have an alien lineage or a superpower.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
one thing I do like,
Mhm.
as you mentioned, one of the new ideas is they have a very wide variety of not exactly a
Heroes.
wide variety, I should say, but
Or
a nice little variety of side characters who assist
right,
him.
right. And they all got their own separate cliques and groups that they all hang out with. It's not like the one of the biggest departures from your traditional Ultraman structure is that there is no anti-kaiju buster squad here. There's
Hmm.
no equivalent to the Science Patrol or the Ultra Garrison,
Yeah.
because in this universe, monsters never existed before Belial showed up and turned into Skull Gomera.
I wouldn't say that.
Oh
They
yeah,
do make it.
there is like an FBI Men in Black sort of organization called AIB.
Mhm. No, I was going to say that this. Okay, the sad thing about, as much as I enjoy the current run of Ultraman shows,
Yeah.
they do suffer from having a kind of a complex mythos. Basically, this is like it begins as its own alternate universe where all the all the Ultra heroes live on a singular world instead of being separated by different continuities.
Uh huh.
Sort of like how Marvel and DC keeps rebooting their universe and combining everything.
Hmm.
But then they introduced the idea of alternate universes and parallel dimensions. All of a sudden, we're not just dealing with one version of Earth. So far we've been introduced to three different versions of Earth in this, or three different versions of humanity throughout the
Right.
Ultraman shows of the 2000s.
So Ultraman Mebius was like the last show to feature the Showa
Traditional
Earth,
Earth.
the Showa
Yeah.
Earth,
We'll
Showa
just call it
continuity
our
Earth.
our Earth.
Okay, because if you remember the Ultraman and the what was it called, the Super 8 Ultra Brothers, that was supposedly the real world where Ultraman is a fictional TV show.
Okay. Let's just say Earth 1 as far as Ultraman goes. Again, I love Ultraman, but this is just become complex
This
comic
is
book
the
crap.
Millennium series. This is like the Godzilla Millennium series of the Ultraman shows. Each show
Oh
is its
yeah,
own.
but even that was more simplistic. It was like a Twilight Zone episode. Here's a new story unconnected to the other one. Boom, go. Here
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
here they're different. They're different universes, but it's all still one continuity with
yeah,
Ultramans all visiting these different universes and teaming up with each other.
yeah. So
And
anyways,
which is only an excuse to introduce the concept that, hey everybody, all these Ultramen from like the past 50 years, you can collect them in toy form, either as spark dolls or as orbs or as ultra capsules.
yeah. But anyways, let's just focus on this version of Earth that exists within Geed.
Right.
It seems to be a regular version of Earth, just one that has never had any monster attacks previously. If aliens have been on the planet, they've been in secret, like Men in
Right.
Black.
Yeah.
It was only when Belial invaded this version of Earth and almost destroyed it along with the rest of the universe
Mm-hmm.
did the Ultra King have to kind of sacrifice himself in order to save and reheal this world.
Uh-huh.
So, but that's basically the plot of this world. And like you said, there's an organization called AIB, which is like Men in Black,
Which
but
do not produce English dubs of foreign films.
yeah, I got that reference. How about you, viewer? So, or listener, I should say, whatever. No, AIB, they seem to be like a Men in Black organization, but it's the opposite. Whereas the Men in Black of the movies here in America is a very human-centric organization that deals with aliens.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very alien-centric organization that deals with other aliens that just happens to have a token human on board.
Uh-huh.
So, but then you also have characters like Riku's oldest friend and possibly a surrogate sibling,
Uh-huh.
Pega, who is a member of the Pegasa aliens,
Right.
recurring aliens from the original Ultra 7 and various other Ultraman shows,
Mm-hmm.
as well as working on, you also have, as well as Shadow Alien Zena, who is actually a good guy version of those previous Ultra 7 antagonists.
Oh, yeah, who
By the
works
way,
for the AIB.
yes, along with his partner Moa Aizaki, who is completely human and an old friend of Riku.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have, of course, Raya Toba, who's a
Mm-hmm.
wandering swordswoman. We barely know anything about her,
Right.
despite
She's
being a
just this like she's kind of reminds me of like a role that would traditionally be for a male, where he's kind of like the man with no name who's like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
this person. Or no, actually, he kind of reminds me of like Domon Kashu, who's like searching for one particular person. Have you seen this man before?
I've
I'm
never seen that
searching.
man in my life.
I'm searching for the person who has done this bad thing so that I may kill him. Because
Yeah, but
for
again,
unexplained reasons, until we probably get to halfway through the series.
so far she's like the most mysterious of the characters, despite the fact that by the end of the second episode, she's practically living with Riku and Pega.
Yeah. And they play up that fact for comedic reasons, because this is Japan and boys and girls don't normally live with each other in a platonic way.
Yeah, let alone aliens, humans, and girls.
If she's an alien, we don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So I don't know. It's like she has the potential to be a very cool character, but so far because she's so.
Mysterious, there's not a lot there to work off
Well,
of
I was
so
gonna say
far.
vague, but
Like
yeah,
she does.
she.
Oh, it's also funny. She does martial arts. She does sword. She's a swordswoman. We've seen her use the sword for comedic bits, where it's like some guy makes fun of her, so she quickly, in an anime-like fashion, like blink and you miss it, cuts off the legs of the chair that he was sitting on, and so he crashes, and it's for a comedic pratfall. But
Hmm.
it's really funny to see her with the sword and the martial arts, because so far we have yet to see her use them, because this is a world where giant monsters and characters exist. So we don't see her do that, and obviously she can't use her sword on humans, because this is a kids show, so we can't afford to have bloodshed. Although I'm pretty sure the special effects director Kiyotaka Taguchi, he has certainly worked on bloody productions in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't seen her contribute anything within the first 4 episodes outside of exposition of a few bits of exposition, and she's usually, so far from what we've seen, she's usually there to uh keep track of the human with the special power in them as the two of them watch Ultraman Jeet's fight.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. Again,
yeah.
she's such I don't want to use two dimensional, but she is such a vague, distant character that so far she's probably the weakest of all the characters thus far.
Right. It'd be funny if we uploaded this first impressions video right when like episode 5 comes out, and that's the one that gives her all the backstory. But as far as that is
Oh,
just like
least
irony.
developed as yeah,
Yeah,
least
at least
developed is
developed.
what I should say.
The other character I had the most issue with was Moa Izaki. I like her
Yeah.
conceptually, but the
Mm-hmm.
problem is I really do not like her over exaggerated style of acting, which has always been my biggest issue when consuming modern day Japanese media.
Mm-hmm.
In that she acts like a live action cartoon character, her movements are exaggerated, her voice is exaggerated,
Yeah.
her
Yeah, it's
hand,
not
her
char
like
and
right
it gets
it doesn't look good in live action. That's always been my problem. If you've seen, go way back to my early one of my earliest reviews of Deep Sea Monster Raiga, I've criticized the three sisters in that movie for acting like characters out of an anime. And while I said it's okay in animation because that's an exaggerated, non-realistic world, in live
mhm.
action it just looks strange and awkward. And that's a trend I've never been a fan of as well.
Yeah, and sadly there's a lot of tokusatsu shows that suffer from like I'll admit that
Again, lucky
this
from lucky from Kyuranger.
yeah, or this one recurring side character from um Iron Mikazuki, or it was a miniseries from Japan. It was always ruined when this one character shows up.
Hmm.
But no, thankfully this particular character, Moa,
Yeah.
she's nowhere near as bad as those examples we gave, but she
Hmm.
still sticks out like a sore thumb. And
Yeah.
it does get annoying. Thankfully, she is somewhat competent, and she does save the day through her incompetence. But it's nowhere near as annoying as Jar Jar Binks. But she also comes off as the second least developed character, or strongest, weakest character of the whole batch.
And again, I like that she's a childhood friend of Riku. She
Mm-hmm.
enjoys this the tokusatsu hero that both she and him grew up with, uh, and that I kind of like the idea that it's the human who is more exaggerated, while the alien that she works with, the shadow alien, he
Mm-hmm.
is much more grounded and more serious than her.
Yeah, it's
Like,
Zena is
yeah.
this alien agent who works with Moa.
Hmm.
He's really cool and everything, but he's possibly even less developed than everyone else. Although I
Probably,
don't know if
yeah.
that's deliberate because he is directly an alien from the original Ultra 7.
Hmm.
And as much as I enjoy Ultra 7, the aliens were really lacking in personality, which
Hmm.
was deliberately done to make them more alien, if you
Hmm.
will.
Let's
So,
see. So moving on to the last character would be Reto Igaguri. Was that right? Yeah, Reto Igaguri. So
mhm,
he is the human host that Ultraman Zero decides to live inside of after he witnesses Reto give up his life to save this young boy in a traffic accident. So in a actually like if, the way Ultraman Zero fuses with Rachel was yet another homage to Ultra 7. As you've heard from Enshohma, like many of the characters for any of the aliens and monsters, power ups that appear in this series are all homages to Ultraman 7 because 2017 happens to be the 50th anniversary of Ultraman 7. Sorry, Ultra 7. No,
mhm,
how dare I an Ultraman fan call him that? So
mhm,
it was all of these homages was really nice. Even like technically the second monster we get out of this series was King, another monster from Ultra 7.
mhm.
So a lot of these homages was really nice, and so for Reito Igaguri, he is perhaps maybe my favorite character because not only does he feel like an homage to Clark Kent when he switches between his Ultraman Zero and normal human personas while still in his human body. But I like the conversations he has with Ultraman Zero because it feels like the most realistic depiction of a man who realizes there's an alien living inside his mind. And on top of that, he is a 30-year-old salaryman who lives with his wife and daughter. That's something I don't think we've ever seen before because, for me personally, I always love it when you have parents involved in a story, in a fantasy story, or fantasy story, or action sci-fi fantasy story, because in a lot of Japanese media, even in quite a bit of American media, the parents are never involved. Uh,
Or if they are present, they're so oblivious to everything it gets annoying.
Right. So I love how one of the characters is a parent himself. And so we
Hmm.
will get to see him, hopefully, for the rest of the series, we'll see him juggling his life between his family life and his life as the host of Ultraman Zero. And they gave a pretty good excuse not to shove Ultraman Zero in there as often as you would have thought, where despite him being a main character, Ultraman Zero, a main supporting character, Ultraman Zero had to lay low for these last couple of episodes due to him having to regain his energy after his recent battles against Belial. Although it makes
Hmm.
me wonder where the rest of his crew is. The three character Glenfire, Mirror Knight, and Genebot.
Yeah, maybe we'll see them in the future because they are really good characters in their own right.
Hmm.
But until then, I'm very happy with like you said, this Raito is a very good character. In fact, he's probably the strongest of the lot now thinking about it. Probably because the actor does a really good job of going back and forth between, you know, this comical bumbling salaryman
Yeah.
who has courage, but he's bumbling.
Uh huh.
And then of course Ultraman Zero, who is one of the coolest characters ever. So,
Absolutely.
uh,
So, well, go ahead.
should we talk a little bit about Pega himself? Just
Sure,
like,
we can talk about Pega. I like
yeah.
that he's this like kind of very, I would admittedly, this very cute, innocent character. He's very, or I'd say he's earnest. He's about
Mm-hmm.
as earnest, if not more so, than Riku. So that makes him very likable. We don't know a lot about how these two characters met, but somehow Riku, being technically not a human, he has these alien senses that allow him to pick up on Pet. What's his name? Pega.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So to allow him to pick up on Pega's existence or his presence, and he hasn't done much yet, but he just acts as like a in a bit of like a cheerleader role. It's like, you can do it, Riku. I believe in you, sort of deal. But
Yeah,
I feel
and
like,
also he's a very endearing character. Unlike most adorable monsters that show up in Tokusatsu,
mhm.
he's actually quite likable.
Yeah, and I do like the chemistry that he has with Riku.
So yeah, so that's our pretty much our main cast. We do have
Mhm.
a villain though.
Yeah. Oh, before we do that, I do want to say it's really cool that Riku himself is a Tokusatsu fan, and he kind of like based his he watches a lot of that, and he loves that heroic persona and wishes to embody that as Ultraman G. Like, he was inspired by these Tokusatsu heroes, or at least the one Tokusatsu show he watches, to use that as a motivation to be a hero himself. Which it reminds me a lot of what was his name? I think it was Shinjiro from the Ultraman manga, the son of Hayata. I could be
Hmm.
wrong with his name, but within the Ultraman manga, the main character himself is someone who wants to become this big, flashy, over the top hero. And he was also someone who grew up on watching, I guess, consuming superhero media, where he's like, even before he gets his powers, he's like, "Halt there, villain!" in a very cheesy, corny, over the top way. And
Yeah,
he
now of
just,
course in real life, if a science fiction fan like you and I gain superpowers, we'd be running and screaming like it's nobody's business. So I think we do our best not to get,
mhm.
hero worship or self-insert or insertion,
I guess so, yeah.
self-insert hero complex going on here. But
Uh huh.
no, like you said, it is kind of bizarre though that the main hero of this fictional tokusatsu show
is watching
enjoys a
a
fictional.
fictional tokusatsu show.
Yeah, it's like
We are watching a tokusatsu. Sorry, we are watching a tokusatsu show where the main character gets to watch a tokusatsu show.
Yeah, it's like Toku Inception.
Yeah, it's surreal, it's bizarre, it's cool, it's meta, it's all of that and more.
Yeah, but no, you're right. There's a lot of really good new ideas they're working around with, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
personally, I know this probably won't be the case considering the current lot of Japanese superhero shows, but I
Mm-hmm.
really, they say there's 25, but considering all the cool ideas and characters they have here, I
Mm-hmm.
could really see this one going on for 50 episodes. And maybe if we're lucky, they might follow it up with a second season, sort of like what happened between Ginga and Giga S.
Well, considering what happened to X and Orb, I doubt it, but the most we'll probably get is just a movie and that's it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for that, we have quite a unique cast amongst the different Ultraman shows. We don't have just a bunch of scientists and kaiju busters all working within the same organization. No, instead we have like a teenager, a mysterious swordswoman, his alien best friend.
Hmm.
We have the Men in Black. We have a family man, and our protagonist who is Ultra Carnage himself, Belial.
Which, with that says, we should mention the antagonist, who is
Yeah.
shrouded in mystery, Kei Fukade. Fukode.
Uh, uh,
You probably
Fukuide.
Fukude. So, but
Fukuide.
whatever. Okay, let's
Okay,
not
yeah.
turn this podcast into one of those kind of podcasts where
Well,
Enshohma can't say
actually, it's meant to
nothing.
be the kanji and the katakana is meant to be pronounced this
Shut up,
particular
Andres!
way.
Nobody wants to hear your nerd talk about science fiction. Let's hear about my nerd talk about science fiction.
Because it has boobies in it.
Right. I wasn't going to go down that route.
You're in
So
Shoma. It always goes down that route.
you think too much of me.
Anyways.
Yeah, no, so far he seems to be either he's Belial assuming a human form,
Mm-hmm.
or he is Belial who's taken over the form of this Japanese science fiction author who's quite famous.
Mm-hmm.
Famous enough that when Riku meets him on the street, he asks for an autograph.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he has, like, similar to Ultraman Geed, he has the ability to take different monsters and combine them into these singular monsters,
Mm-hmm.
these fusion beasts. And the first one we get, this one we've seen so far, is Skull Gomera,
Right.
who is actually
Go ahead, sorry.
who is actually a really cool looking monster, even knowing that I personally would prefer a brand new monster, or maybe a creature that an obscure Ultraman monster we haven't seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just a really cool looking design. It's like if you know Red King and Gomera and somebody tells you now combine them in a single creature, that's how awesome this would be. It'd be like combining Godzilla with King Ghidorah, and you got like this golden Godzilla with wings.
Right,
So.
and that's not the first time we've had monster fusions, have we?
Oh no, there's been tons of like the most famous and perhaps the most earliest of them all
Mm-hmm.
is Tyrant from Ultraman Toro, who is basically a Frankenstein monster created from the different parts of different kaiju. And
Mhm.
Tyrant proved so popular that he continued being a recurring villain throughout Ultraman shows, even being kind of one of the main villains of Ultraman Zero's own previous television series.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the Chronicle, the Ultra Big Fight.
Okay,
Um,
and we also had Giga Tyrant. Well, no, Giga Chimera, which is a combination of Silvergon, Goldress, Pandon, what was his name, Gasura, and is that it, or is probably one more?
No, those Hippolyto,
Hipporito,
the alien,
yeah,
as well as
Hipporito.
these shadowy humans from a different dimension.
Right,
So
right.
it was like a six-way giant monster hybrid.
Right, and
So
I believe it was Orb you told me where the Pandon Zeton fusion came from.
yeah, which is actually a pretty cool looking monster in its own right. So we've
Oh
had
yeah,
plenty of
I actually want to get a figure of both that and Skull Gomera.
yeah.
And mhm.
No, we've had plenty of combo monsters in the past, but now this time though it seems they're a major part of the storyline as opposed to like a flavor of the month type deal.
Right, and I have a feeling that because of how expensive it is to create new suits, maybe we're not going to get as many new combinations, much like how we're probably not going to get as many Ultraman combinations, which is,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, good for me because that means like less toy promoting, and also it makes the few original transformations and the few original monster combinations that we get all the more special, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now we have Skull Gomera, which is Gomera and Red King. In the future, we're going to have Zeton and King Joe fusioned,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to have Ella King and Ace Killer fused.
Mm-hmm.
And they all look really cool because them being all Belial themed, they're all going to have like a sort of a reddish, demonic look to them, on top of having the two designs from both monsters mixed together.
Indeed, indeed.
In fact,
So yeah.
I'm just going to send you a link to show off those fusions with you.
Oh, the ones that are supposed to be upcoming.
Yeah, and apparently we're also gonna. So far, in terms of
Uh-huh.
Jeed's transformations, we have the original Ultraman and Belial fused. We have Leo and
Leo and
Seven
Seven.
fused, and let's see. The next one I believe is going to be Cosmos and Hikari fused, the two blue Ultramen.
Right,
And the
right.
next one, I can't really tell who it is, but it seems to be Ultraman, the father of Ultraman,
Uh-huh.
and some blue Ultraman. It's difficult to tell because the katakana here is really small.
Right, right.
So yeah, what do you think of these upcoming transformations?
I'm waiting for the link to show up. We'll
Okay,
probably edit this whole part.
it's on Skype. Oh, it's being
Yeah,
sent. It's taking forever to be sent. I'll send it
yeah.
on Facebook.
Right now I got to open Facebook. This is such a professional operation you got here going on, Andres.
It's the be- you got. It's the be- I gotta make do with what I've got.
You
Let's see.
could have
What is
said
this?
something
This is
funny.
the 47-minute mark. Okay,
Right, right.
I'm just gonna
47.
type that in. 47.
Oh, now it comes through just as I open Facebook. This is hilarious. So you should leave this all in just to show. Okay, so a second later, after you introduced them to me, I finally got to see the fusions. Um, this is just concept art, although considering how well the Skull Gomera suit came out,
Hmm.
I can see these come out really good. I do like the Elekeen, Elekeen, what is the combination between Elekeen
Ella
and
King and Ace Killer.
Ace Killer? Yeah, that's a really cool looking monster. The King Joe Zeton one looks okay, but also looks a little,
Random.
yeah, random. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't really match his.
I actually like the Pandon Zeton fusion better. I think.
Yeah, yeah, but this one between Ace Killer and Elekeen is really cool looking.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
no, no, it's like I know we're supposed to be getting a lot of returning monsters, although a
Hmm.
lot of them have been kaiju that we've seen plenty of times in the past, like
Hmm.
Earthron and Dada and whatnot.
Hmm.
We're getting some obscurities, like Xanderis from Ultraman 80.
Hmm.
And I don't, but I'm not sure about new monsters. It seems we got a lot of returning characters or combinations, but
Maybe the
no.
fusions are going to be our only new monsters.
Yeah, which is a little disappointing, but and that's the funny thing with Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, the villains almost don't matter and
Uh
they
huh.
barely return.
Uh huh.
You know, it's when they say Monster of the Week, they literally mean Monster of the Week. You know,
Uh
don't
huh.
get used to these guys; they're gone.
But the only
And
reason
Ultra,
why they're popular is because they keep showing up in other Ultraman shows.
yeah, and here's the thing: the problem with Ultraman is that they've been reusing a lot of classic monsters, maybe a little too often.
Ever since the days of Ultraman Max, where the gimmick was, hey, these are new costumes of older monsters,
Yeah, exactly. So
which they reused for Mebius, which was like half and half with the classic monsters to old monsters ratio. And then what was it with Ginga? Was it all only old monsters?
pretty much all there was a handful of brand new monsters, but
Uh
yeah, the
huh.
vast majority were all old monsters, reused suits, and a couple of recreated ones.
Okay, and then with Ultraman X, I believe it went back to being half and half.
Yeah, yeah. Ultraman X had a really good
Yeah, there was like
mix of new and old.
one of my favorites actually was probably the four-armed Cyclops monster with like an eyeball in his mouth.
Oh, Gorgon. It was a I know her name was Gorgon related, and it was a
Yeah,
girl.
right. That was
Yeah,
probably my favorite. I gotta get like
Yeah,
a one of those Spark Doll figures of that one to go with my collection.
yeah. No, that was a really cool monster, and of course her deal is she went to other planets and turned it to stone because she's a giant Gorgon horror.
Right. Huh. That's a nice homage.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, and also they did like a nice combination of new and old in the form of Gurenki,
Mm-hmm.
who was a brand new version of an obscure monster from Ultraman Cosmos, this
Mm-hmm.
giant ghostly samurai,
Mm-hmm.
who was actually the combined spirits of two lovers who died on the battlefield.
Mm.
And Gurinki was another version of a Rinky, except now he was in red battle armor.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool. But again, I'm going on a tangent about Japanese monsters that nobody cares about. Back to Ultraman Geed.
All right.
So,
So, what do you think of the two forms that we witnessed in the first four episodes of Geed's original form and his later form?
okay, the first one where it's a combination of the original Ultraman and Belial.
Mm-hmm.
At first I didn't like it based on all the publicity photos, but it
Mm-hmm.
grew on me over time. It actually grew on me rather quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it looks like a Todd McFarlane designed character, except it's good.
It's got enough like spikes and edges to give it that badass look to it, or like a more intimidating. He's a much more intimidating looking Ultraman, and the fact that he's the son of Belial makes it very interesting from a narrative perspective, which is what got me interested in checking out Geed as soon as I could.
Yeah, and again, I really hope they don't waste these 25 episodes and give us a really engaging story until we get there. But then again, my secret hope is that we do get a second season and a continuation. It's a full 50 episodes. If
Mm-hmm.
they can do it with Ginga, why not do, and Gundam, why not do it with this particular Ultraman?
Uh huh.
But then again, I'm a Pollyanna, so it probably won't happen.
What does that mean exactly?
Pollyanna, a kind of famous character in American literature and film, who was a little girl who always looked on the bright side of life.
All right, for a minute there,
Uh,
I thought it was like I didn't know you were into those kind of relationships.
oh, damn it, Andres. Every opportunity to embarrass me, but wait till I reveal your dark secret.
Oh no.
That's right. This man secretly enjoys in I can't think of anything clever. Keep going.
Whew. All right, moving on. What you thought of his second form? Because as much as I like the idea of combining Ultra Seven and Ultraman Leo, I didn't think this form made a whole lot of sense because it's all mechanical based. He's got like steam and fire shooting out of his body. He's got different robotic panels on him. It would have made much sense if it was like one of these Ultraman combined with X, because he's the more machine based Ultraman. But having two Ultramen that are not really all that mechanical. I mean, they got one's got more. Well, both of them's got some amount of armor, but both of two Ultramans that were focused more on like martial arts and brutal weapon based fighting, it seems kind of weird to have them combine into a machine based Ultraman.
Yeah, I think you said it best. The design was way too busy. The
Mm-hmm.
mechanical components don't make any sense. It
Like
looks cool.
I like the mechanical gimmick, but it
Uh
doesn't
huh.
make sense given what two Ultraman were supposed to combine into.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's I still like the design, but of the three Ultraman Geek fusions that we
Mm-hmm.
know that are coming,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely the weakest of the three.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that, and it's also a little too bulky too. Like, and you don't really get the combination either with like Geed's primitive form.
Except with the special attacks. These
Yeah.
special attacks I absolutely love.
Oh yeah, especially that first time. When he put the Eye Slugger, which is a famous weapon of Ultra Seven,
Mm-hmm.
basically a boomerang on his forehead that he throws and slices monsters up into little edible pieces.
Mm-hmm.
When he put it on his leg and combined that with Ultraman Leo's famous
Kick.
panache,
Yeah.
famous usage of famous skill with martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you were just going crazy, like, "Oh, that is actually awesome!"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like your feelings for this Ultraman design went from 0 to 11,
Yeah.
and then back to 0. So, but no, I do agree. It's probably the weakest of the two forms, and the
Mm-hmm.
mechanical thing is off-putting. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a shame too because on their own, Ultraman Leo and Ultraman 7 have really good, strong designs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you combine them into this, if it was its own Ultraman, it would probably work. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this is not what I think when you combine 7 and Leo together into a singular form.
Mm-hmm. And apparently,
So,
from the this next bit of concept art, it looks like Ultraman Zero will also be getting some sort of fusion upgrade,
mm,
where Reito he's going to get that same fusion red band, that band that he get that Riku has, and he
mm-hmm.
slaps his Ultra Eye on transformation device on, and it combines, and I guess he combines two certain powers, and he gets turned into this strange glowing silver and purple form,
It
which
actually looks pretty cool for what it is.
yeah, yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
sent it to you right now for you to check out on both Facebook and Skype, just in case.
I will stick to Facebook because it doesn't take forever to load.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's not half bad. Although it is kind of reminiscent of a lot of the Another World type concept art and publishing that Two Bright Productions has done.
Okay. Yeah.
Which,
Yeah. I
which
do
yeah,
remember
which
that.
which
Where they
features these
feature like much more detail on the bodies.
yeah, these completely this bizarre world of alternate Ultramen with like these very elaborate Ultraman design anime inspired designs. It
Mm-hmm.
looks a lot like that, although I don't know how well it's going to come off in live action form.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be
So,
another thing. So, before we get into the rest of the special effects in terms of the fight sequences, the models, the costumes, I do want to say I'm not a fan of the toy stuff. I know it was something that we brought up earlier, but I do want to say I did think the Spark Doll mechanic worked better because all you needed was, from Ultraman X at least, the transformation device, the Spark Doll, put them together, and there you go. And you have a card. Then you can also slide the card in, but that doesn't happen until after the transformation. Here, I think it's kind of convoluted in that Kamen Rider sort of style, where it's like he takes out a capsule, he puts it into from one pocket and puts it into another pocket. Takes out the second capsule from one pocket into another pocket. He takes out that second pocket thing, and then he takes out his red thing. He has his red thing scan both capsules, and then he can use this capsule, the red thing, to transform into Ultraman Jeed.
he then jumps onto the bat pole and goes for the bat cave. He summons forth the power of Shazam by saying Shazam. He then puts on a super fancy belt and does a pose that turns him to a Kamen Rider. Then he twirls and becomes Wonder Woman. And then he
He
puts
takes
on
out
a
his
green ring.
then he takes out his morpher. He says it's morphin time.
Yeah, but first he has to slide a card and become an angel or something, and then he puts on a green ring that pops out a red suit that makes him go super fast.
Then he
Uh,
takes the jewel on his forehead and says like Sailor Moon illumination or whatever that phrase was.
exactly. And while he's transforming nude, he becomes Cutie Honey, and then she transforms to multiple different forms, and then he calls out for his Bio Booster armor,
At
and then
which
the
point
Bio
he goes
Booster arm.
Rikumon Digivolve to Ultramon.
Yes, and then he starts drinking his hooch, and then he gains the power of Will Smith, and it's like, oh, and he steals diamonds with his lovely girlfriend, and he drives a black car because he's also Danger Diabolic. So, how many more obscure superhero transformation items can we throw into this joke, Andres?
Then he takes out his giant bracelet and then pops a Spidey suit for him to immediately jump into.
Exactly. Oh, and then because a bunch of people killed his family, he also carries a lot of guns with him.
Then
Uh,
he fuses with Amon to become Devilman.
and then he puts on a magic ring and becomes invisible unless you're a dragon. Then he sees you.
And then he puts on
Um,
another ring to start glowing green. At which point he shouts, "For in darkest day, in brightest day, in darkest night, no evil shall escape my sight.
I already did the Green Lantern
Let those
part.
who worship evil's might
I
beware
already did the
my."
Green Lantern part.
Okay,
Okay, that was the ring popping off the Flash outfit.
right,
So, oh, and he's a ninja too.
right.
And he summons the giant
And then he
robot.
finally takes out his beta capsule. Then he finally transforms.
Exactly.
What happened
4
to the
hours later.
what happened to the good old days of like the beta capsules and the ultra eyes?
I know.
You
It's
just have
I
one single item. Instead, you got to have the capsules, the black band, the red band, the thing to hold the capsules.
Yeah,
And then you
like
got
like
the individual capsules themselves.
as much as we were enjoying this show,
Uh huh.
every time it got to Riku's transformation, Ultraman Geed,
I rolled
you
my eyes.
just yeah. Not only that, but you went into like mini rants. Like it's like,
It's like
how does that fit? Where does that go?
I was
Where
like,
does this come?
that's like it's like where does this go? And also like the beta capsules, the ultra capsules. That shows how much I want to go back to the old days of Ultraman.
Uh huh.
With the ultra capsules, those were it's explained specifically that these were devices designed by Ultraman Hikari, but somehow they went lost during the big war with Belial. And yet we
Uh huh.
have the Ultra King, who somehow has his power infused in certain individuals, random individuals in the show, and when they give up that power, power, it turns into an Ultra capsule, and then it's
No, it
realized that there's a
infuses the Ultra
yeah,
capsule.
right, it does. But then it's like,
It's like
why
a
does
Pokeball. You fill it with a Pokemon and it becomes more
because the
magical.
Ultra King just so happens to have all the random powers of the Ultramen and monsters, I guess. It's weird.
Meanwhile, little Samantha Pollyanna of New Jersey is listening to this podcast and says to herself, I'm not getting into this whole tokusatsu crap. On to something less complicated, like the Warner Brothers DC movie verse.
Oh, at least Wonder Woman was
Oh,
good.
I've yet to see it, so I can't tell.
I heard it was good. Uh, so let's see.
The guy on the
Anyways,
street told me it was good, so I'm going to
the
take his
homeless
opinion.
person who makes up reviews in his own mind.
Oh my god, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. I had to. I
I
had
know.
to. Okay.
Okay. So other than that, everything else about the fights are fantastic.
Oh yeah. Again, despite all this complicated toyetic detail, ladies and gentlemen, if you want monster fights, forget Super Sentai because as I was telling Andres, Super
Mm-hmm.
Sentai really doesn't care about the giant monster fights.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Ultraman Geed because in these 4 episodes they've had like 4 really good giant-sized battles.
Right, and they do it's one of the most crucial rules when it comes to tokusatsu. Never show the suit actor's feet standing on like their stage, because once you show their feet, you kind of break the illusion. And
Mm-hmm.
because when you avoid showing the feet, that actually helps showcase, or that helps shows like the level of or rather that helps convey the scale of these characters. That's it. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
They use a
definitely.
lot of, not on top of showing low angles. They do a lot of wide shots where the characters are being surrounded by giant buildings. And when you do see the feed, it's for when the character is like being hit and he's being knocked off his feet.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you do see his feet, it's at a low angle where the character is stomping really hard or performing a big dynamic kick. Kiyotaka Taguchi, he is at the top of his game here.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny you should mention that because you and I have seen a lot of tokusatsu kaiju related material, and
Uh-huh.
whenever the feet show up,
Like in like the 70s Godzilla or like the late 60s stuff.
yeah, it kind of almost breaks the illusion. I know the illusion was not convincing to begin with, but
Right.
when you see like basically the bare set or the rubber feet pushing against the rubbery ground,
Or like
it
or a very flat ground
yeah, it
covered in dirt and some moss.
yeah, weirdly enough, it kind of reminds me of the feet scenes from Beast of Hollow Mountain.
Uh-huh.
Like, as bad as the stop motion is, the minute it gets to those little rubber booties
Uh-huh.
walking on the ground,
Mhm.
it kind of ruins the illusion. And I've rarely seen kaiju feet done well.
Mhm.
Even big budget productions that went out of their way to make these life-size Godzilla feet come off looking horrible because they did not do the nails well enough or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah.
We could do a whole podcast about best and worst feet in kaijudom, but let's not get into that. But no, the fact that we never see, yeah, they do a really good job covering the legs, and it actually comes off feeling natural too.
It's like
There's a lot of
it's one little rule in tokusatsu, in
go on,
modern day tokusatsu, that goes a long way.
go on.
No, that's it. That's what I wanted to say.
Oh, what did you want to say?
That a lot of that one little rule can go a long way.
There we go. There we go. I had to make you say it again so we can edit it a lot easier.
Okay, 104. I'll
Um.
mark that down.
Okay, but No, yeah, you're absolutely right in that regard. And again, great cinematography, great perspective, great pyrotechnics.
Oh
And I'm
yeah,
not just
definitely.
yeah.
And also,
Um,
we also talked about the CGI enhancements.
oh yeah, the great thing I think Two Bright Productions, and they really kind of advanced this with Ultraman Max and Mebulus, and further with Ultra Galaxy
The
and beyond
movies,
is
yeah.
yeah, they combine CGI effects with traditional monster effects, and
Hmm.
the end result is something very exciting and energetic and visually stunning. And it's especially true here in Geed, especially when they're firing laser blasts at each other point blank. It just comes out looking fantastic.
Hmm.
And the model sets, oh my
Oh
goodness.
yeah, and there's a lot more model destruction, surprisingly.
Yeah, yeah, and it looks really good. Like as I know this isn't a perfect genre of film and television you and I are fans of,
Hmm.
but what always annoyed me, especially with the common American or the American commoner,
Hmm.
is that there's always this mainstream feel that the model buildings look fake. But in
Hmm.
reality, especially in a good production like this, the model buildings are like the best special effects these films have,
Uh-huh.
even more so than the creature suits or the optical effects.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's the detail on these buildings are fantastic. It's like if they weren't filmed in sets and they're filmed outside, you can almost mistake them for real photos of Tokyo.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
And let's see. I did want to think, going back to the CGI, the one thing that didn't, the only time I've seen like CGI go too far would probably be like the Ultraman movies, or like the
Mm-hmm.
Ultra Galaxy Legend, the movie, where everything is just one giant green screen, so the characters feel like they're just floating there, with
Yeah,
there's zero practical sets, so it's kind of like the Star Wars prequel effect, where the whole world around them looks fake.
yeah, I'd have to agree to this, and I'm like the biggest fan of Ultraman Zero, the movie, and that
Hmm.
was very much like the Star Wars prequels by the way of
Hmm.
Ultraman,
But
except
luckily,
it
I think
was
the
good.
costumes and characters were good enough.
Yeah, exactly. So, thankfully they've returned the physical sets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and again, they look gorgeous, ladies and gentlemen.
And
So,
let's see. Oh, the sound effects. I imagine that like every single punch, every single kick, every single
mm-hmm,
stomp has a lot of weight to them and a lot of impact. You feel the impact with every blow sent
uh-huh.
to the characters to each other.
Yeah, again, it's just everything's so well executed. The story details might be wonky,
Hmm.
and I'm talking about the details, not the main story itself and
Right.
the characters.
The mythos building.
Mythos, yeah, the whatever. You put the continuity in the coconut and you stir it all up. But
That's
no,
essentially what it's like trying to trying to get into Ultraman nowadays because it's
yeah,
all
exactly.
connected somehow.
Yeah, just ignore the details and enjoy the spectacle. And oh dear, the production values on this are very good. It's like
Yeah, maybe that's
the
why they chose to make only 25 episodes for these recent shows, so that they can have spend more time pooling all their efforts into as small of a production as small of a production as they can in order to make the best product ever in terms of quality.
quality over quantity.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
always.
That's right, my bright young friend. You get a gold star and a cookie.
Indeed.
Yes. Hey, Andres, who would win in a battle, the 50-foot woman or Itasis from Power Rangers Mystic Force?
Yes! That is my answer to all versus questions. So it is I, Orson Welles, back from the dead, to comment on versus questions. Yes,
Can you do
indubitably.
it by yourself, Orson Welles, with the help of your fellow fat man, Sidney Greenstreet? Yes, it's me.
So, anyways, should we go to final thoughts?
Why not you be Unitron from Transformers, portrayed
Unitron?
by, yeah, what was the name of the giant robot that Orson Welles voiced?
I was Unicron.
Oh, you're Unicron, and I'll be
That's
Galactus,
I don't know.
played by
I
Orson
was some
Welles
toy
and
who
Sidney
did bad things
Greenstreet,
to other
respectively.
toys.
Right, so it's,
There's no
I've
money
come to
that's
eat
worth
this
this.
planet. I've come to eat this planet because I'm an eternal entity. Oh, wait a minute. This planet is made of metal, and it's alive. Oh my goodness. Who are
Yes, it
you?
is I. I am all around you. Ego
Oh,
can go fuck himself.
he was very
I
delicious.
am the true living planet. You see,
Well, Unicron,
we know remote planet in Lincolnshire.
you're no
There,
match for me. Galactus. I have a bunch of silver people working for me. Say hello to this one. He's a surfer. Yes, indeed. I enjoy surfing.
I don't like this. There's no money that's worth this. Hell, I need the
Uh,
money anyways.
well, how about we become friends? Here's some French wine, my friend.
The French champagne.
Yes, indeed.
There's a French California by Paul Masson, inspired by that
Oh,
same
wait a minute.
French
Wait a minute.
excellence.
This champagne comes with a prize. The Maltese Falcon.
Yes, it's vintage dated.
Yes, indeed. Let's have a Christmas in Connecticut, my friend. Ooh, yes.
The French. The French.
Meanwhile, Sam Fernandez of California is listening to this podcast going like, screw it, I'm never getting to giant monsters ever again. Thanks for nothing, Andres and Enshohma.
And Enshohma. References to a previous D-Man 1954 live stream aside, did you like Ultraman G, Enshohma?
In the words of Sidney Greenstreet, yeah, I enjoyed it.
In the words of Orson Welles, yes!
Oh, we're supposed to do an impression. Okay. Yes, it was very good. Quite delectable.
So yes, I would highly recommend you guys to check out Ultraman G. Even though even if you never watched Ultraman, I would actually prefer Ultraman X over Ultraman G if you want to get into Ultraman, because this one has a lot of narrative baggage that connects to the Ultraman Zero franchise. So I would recommend checking out at least Ultra Galaxy Legend the movie and Ultraman Zero the movie, and then check out Ultraman G. Because otherwise you're not going to know who. They try to explain who Belial, who Belial is, who Ultraman Zero is, but really, I don't know. You're just going to be really confused as to who these characters are. But on one hand, I would say yes, it would be good enough for a non-fan to start on this as their first Ultraman series, because ignoring all of that, they at least try to explain who these older characters are, and they at least provide a lot of folk after the confusing destruction and resurrection of the universe, and within like the first couple minutes of episode 1, they focus solely on the new characters, and I feel like they are the ones that you can latch onto to continue with the rest of the show from here on out.
Yeah, what you basically says, I think, sums up my feelings up completely. Yeah. And it's weird, too, because there's a lot of Godzilla fans who... We live in a wonderful day and age where Ultraman is more readily available, both legally and illegally. And yet a lot of Godzilla fans are not Ultraman fans. They seem to shy away from it with as much vigor as a normal American if you told them to watch an episode of Power Rangers. You know,
it's like, there's no giant radioactive lizard here. Fuck this.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we didn't have to use F-bombs, but sure. Yeah, it's weird because you think Godzilla fans would be a little more open to Ultraman, but yeah, nope. A lot of them stay away from it.
Especially when we've seen like the insanity of the kaiju American kaiju fan base in that live stream in Shoma. It's all monsters.
And there's some good. Yeah, it's weird too. It's even the original Ultraman 60, the original Ultraman show, which was basically the Saturday Night Live equivalent of a kaiju movie. You know, you had the guest band, the Science Patrol. I mean, you had the house band, the Science Patrol. No. Okay, let me start this again. Even the original Ultraman from the 1960s, the very first series, you know, that was basically a kaiju variety show. You had similar like Saturday Night Live. You had the guest host, the Monster of the Week. You had the supporting players, the Science Patrol, and the in-house band Ultraman. But for the most part, it was the kaiju that carried each and every episode. And you think that would be especially Ultra Q, which had no Ultra heroes at all. Which, you know, you think
it's
those
black
would
and white, and therefore it's old and sucks.
Yeah, I don't. You think those two at least would appeal to a lot of Godzilla fans, but even then, they don't want to watch it for like very petty and ridiculous reasons. And
or that because it's a television series, and it's much more time consuming to get into a television show, especially when it has a very outdated repetitive monster of the week formula, where every episode is the same formula again and again and again and again 50 times over.
Yeah, I don't think Ultraman ever gets that bad. That's definitely true of Super Sentai most of the time. I've rarely seen a Super Sentai show able to play with its formula for 50 episodes. Ultraman, on the other hand, there's so much variety and different monsters and story ideas that...
So it could be just like the television format then, where it's much more time consuming to finish just one television series as opposed to watching a hour and a half to 2 hour movie.
Yeah, and also, again, there's a lot of bias against Ultraman. I would very much like the listeners to write in the comments to say whether or not they're both Godzilla and Ultraman fans, so
Mm-hmm.
I know that hopefully we're kind of wrong in that assumption.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's funny. It's a weird... If you want to see new Ultraman, I agree with Andres. Definitely check out at least the first 4 episodes of this series,
Yeah.
because they were very strong and we enjoyed them immensely.
Right. Just we gotta give a warning in advance due to these strong connections this series has with the previous movies.
Yeah, once you get past the complicated world building, which is literally the first 5 seconds
Yeah.
of the first
It's in the
episode.
intro as well, actually.
Yeah, but then but it's like only visual.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like once you get past that little speed bump, it's smooth sailing from there, I hope.
All right. So those have been our thoughts on Ultraman Geed, which we have enjoyed far more than we enjoyed the first 4 episodes. Hello, we enjoyed the first episode alone. The first episode alone was far more entertaining than the first episode of Kyuranger, and actually made us want to continue watching this. So hopefully you will have the same experience, if not a much more pleasant experience as well. And if you also happen to like these certain franchises like Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, again, more power to you. So I have been Andres Perez, aka Kaiju Noir. Who are you, man? Who are you, stranger, and on my channel? And where can people find you if they so wish to follow you?
Well, you'll most likely put the links in the description below. But basically just put Google search for Enshohma. You'll find my official Facebook group, Enshohma Lives, which should be open to even people who don't have a Facebook account. I have my own YouTube channel, which will soon be hosting some more content there in late September.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you can find all my artwork on Enshohma at DeviantArt. And of course I do title cards for Brendan Tenold and his cult movie reviews, which is becoming quite popular on YouTube. And since this is early in August, know that I will be attending Japan Hero World in Pasadena Convention Center
How
from
ironic.
August 26th to 27th, as well as the Friday night preview night on the 25th. I will be there with my good friend Hawanji, also known as Mark Rivers. Our table will be labeled Freaks, Mutants, and Monsters. And come on down, say hello, and that's it. Before we end, Andres, though, do you remember the name of the little restaurant / corner store that our heroes of Ultraman Geed attend?
No.
It goes by the name of Galaxy Market.
Fuck!
Galaxy Market. Galaxy Market. Galaxy Market.
Somebody kill me now.